Hello dear listener. Welcome to Sleep Debuff channel. The channel about adventure, folklore, zen, and inspiring stories that will help you calm. In this video today, I will continue the second part of the story from Scheherazade and the Sultan. If you haven't watched the first part, please watch the story in the description link. Please sit back, relax, you may close your eyes, and enjoy the story I will about to tell you today. This is how the story continue. The old man said, "I'm going to start my story right now, so please listen. This hind you see next to me is my wife. We don't have any kids of our own. So I took in the son of one of my favorite slaves, and made him my heir. My wife, on the other hand, didn't like either the mother or the child very much, which she didn't tell me until it was too late. I had to go on a trip when my adopted son was about 10 years old. Before I left, I gave the mother and child to my wife, and asked her to take care of them while I was gone. I was gone for a whole year. During this time, she learned magic so that she could carry out her evil plan. When she had enough information, she took my son to a faraway place, and turned him into a calf. Then she gave him to my steward, and told him to take care of a calf she had bought. She turned the slave into a cow, and gave it to my steward. When I got back, I asked my slave about the child. She told him, 'Your slave is dead, and I haven't seen your son in 2 months, so I don't know where he is.' I was sad to hear that my slave had died, but I thought I would soon find my son since he had only gone missing. But 8 months went by, and no news of him came. Then the feast of Bairam came. I told my steward to bring me a very fat cow to sacrifice to mark the day. He did so. The cow he brought with him was my slave. I tied her up, but just as I was about to kill her, she started to cry out in pain, and I could see tears in her eyes. It seemed very strange to me, and I felt sorry for her. So I told the steward to take her away, and bring another cow. My wife, who was there, laughed at how kind I was, but it didn't matter how mean she was. She yelled, 'What are you doing? Slaughter this cow, it's the best thing we can give up.' I tried again to make her happy, but the animal's lows and tears scared me again. 'Take her away and kill her,' I told the steward. 'I can't.' The steward killed her, but when he took off her skin, he saw that she was just bones, even though she looked fat. I was irritated. 'Keep her for yourself,' I told the steward, 'and if you have a fat calf, bring that instead.' In a short time, he brought me my son, who I didn't know was a very fat calf. It tried very hard to get free, and come to me. It fell at my feet with its head on the ground, as if it wanted to make me feel sorry for it, and begged me not to kill it. I was shocked, and moved by this even more than I had been by the cow's tears. I told the steward to go get this calf back, take good care of it, and bring me another one right away. When my wife heard me say this, she immediately asked, 'What are you doing, husband? Don't kill any other calf but this one.' 'Wife,' I told her, 'I will not sacrifice this calf.' And even though she tried to change my mind, I didn't give in. I will kill another calf, and took this one away. The steward asked to talk to me alone the next day. 'I've come to tell you some news I think you'll be interested in,' he said. 'My daughter knows magic. Yesterday, when I was bringing back the calf you wouldn't sacrifice, I saw her smile, and then she started to cry right away. I asked her why she had done that. 'Father,' she said, This calf is our master's son. I'm happy to see that he's still alive. But I cry when I think about his mother, who was burned as a cow yesterday. Our master's wife, who hated the mother and son, made these changes." At these words, of genies, the old man went on. I'll let you imagine how shocked I was. I went with the steward right away to talk to the man's daughter. First, I went to the stable to see my son. He answered all my caresses in his own dumb way. When the steward's daughter came, I asked her if she could put my son back in the right shape. "Yes, I can," she said. "But only if you agree to two things. One is that you will give him to me as a husband, and the other is that you will let me punish the woman who turned him into a calf." To the first condition, I said, "I wholeheartedly agree, and I will give you a good dowry." "I agree with the second part, but I beg you to spare her life." "I'll do that," she said. "I'll treat her the same way she treated your son." Then she took a bowl of water, and said some words over it that I didn't understand. When she poured the water over him, he became a young man again right away. "My son! My dear son!" I yelled and kissed him in a rush of happiness. "This kind maiden saved you from a terrible spell, and I'm sure you'll marry her to show your thanks." He gladly agreed, but before they got married, the young girl turned my wife into a hind. And you're looking at her now. I wanted her to look like this, not like someone else, so that we could accept her as a member of the family. Since then, my son has lost his wife and gone on a trip. Now I'm going to find him, and I don't want to leave my wife with anyone else, so I'm taking her with me. Is this not a wonderful story? "Yes, it is," the genie said. "And because of that, I'll give you the third part of this merchant's punishment." After the first old man finished his story, the second man, who was leading the two black dogs, said to the genies, "I'm going to tell you what happened to me, and I'm sure you'll find it even more amazing than what you just heard. But once I tell you, will you also give me the third part of the merchant's punishment?" "Yes," the genie said, "as long as your story is better than the hind's." With this agreement, this is how the second old man started. "Great prince of the genies, you must know that these two black dogs and I are our brothers. When our dad died, he left each of us 1,000 sequins. With this money, the three of us all went into the same business, and became merchants. Not long after we opened our shops, my older brother, who is one of these two dogs, decided to go to other countries to sell goods. In order to do this, he sold everything he owned, and bought things he could use on the trips he was about to take. He left and was gone for a year. At the end of this time, a beggar came to my store. "Good day," I said. "Good morning," he replied. "Is it possible you don't know me?" Then I got a good look at him, and saw that he was my brother. I told him to come to my house, and asked how his business was going. "Don't ask me anything," he said. "Just look at me. That's all I have. It would only cause me more trouble to list all of the bad things that have happened to me in the past year and brought me to this point." I closed my shop, gave him all of my attention, took him to the bath, and gave him my best robes. I looked at my finances, and saw that I had doubled my capital, which meant I now had 2,000 sequins. I gave half to my brother, and told him, "Now, brother, you can forget about your losses." He was happy to take them, and we went on living together as we had before. After a while, my second brother also wanted to sell his business and go on a trip. My older brother and I did everything we could to stop him, but it didn't help. He went with a group of people. At the end of a year, he came back in the same shape as his older brother. I helped him out, and since I had 1,000 extra sequins, I gave them to him. He was able to reopen his shop. My two brothers came to me one day, and suggested that we go on a trip and trade. At first, I didn't want to go. "You went away," I asked, "but what did you get out of it?" But they kept coming back to me. And after 5 years of holding out, I finally gave in. But when they were ready and started buying the things we needed, they found that they had spent all of the 1,000 sequins I had given them. I didn't tell them off. I gave each of them 1,000 sequins, and kept one for myself. With the other 3, I buried them in a corner of my house. We bought goods, put them on a ship, and set sail when the wind was in our favor. After 2 months at sea, we got to a port where we got off the ship and did a lot of business. Then we bought the goods of the country, and were about to set sail again, when a beautiful but badly dressed woman stopped me on the shore. She came up to me, kissed my hand, and begged me to marry her, and take her on board. At first, I said no, but she pleaded with me so hard, and promised to be such a good wife that I finally gave in. I bought her some pretty dresses, and after we were married, we got on board and set sail. During the trip, I learned about all the good things about my wife, which made me love her more and more. But my brothers got jealous of how well I was doing, and started planning to kill me. When my wife and I were asleep one night, they threw us into the sea. But, because my wife was turned out to be a fairy, she didn't let me drown. Instead, she took me to an island. When morning came, she told me, "When I saw you on the beach, I fell in love with you, and wanted to see how kind you were, so I put on the disguise you saw. Now, I've saved your life as a reward. But I'm very angry at your brothers, and I won't stop until they're dead." I thanked the fairy for everything she had done for me, but I begged her not to kill my brothers. I calmed her anger, and in an instant, she took me from the island, where we were, to the roof of my house, and then she was gone. I went downstairs, opened the doors, and dug up the 3,000 sequins I'd buried. I went to where my shop was, opened it, and was greeted by other merchants who were glad to see me. When I got home, 2 black dogs with sad faces were there to greet me. I was very surprised, but the fairy who came back to me said, "Don't be surprised to see these dogs. They are your 2 brothers. I have sentenced them to stay like this for 10 years. Then, after telling me where I could find out about her, she left. 10 years have almost gone by, and I'm on my way to find her. Since I was passing by when I met this merchant and the old man with the stag, I decided to stay with them. This is the story of my life, O Prince of Genies. Do you not think it is one of the best?" "Yes, of course," the genies answered, "and I'll give you 1/3 of the merchant's punishment." Then the 3rd old man did what the other 2 had done, and asked the genies for the same thing. If his story was better than the other 2, the genies promised to give him the last 1/3 of the merchant's punishment. So, he told the genies his story. "But I don't know what it was, so I can't tell you," said Scheherazade. "But I do know that it was even more amazing than either of the others." The genies was so impressed that he told the 3rd old man, "I will give you the 3rd part of the merchant's punishment. He should thank you all for helping him out. If it weren't for you, he wouldn't be here anymore." With that, he left, which made everyone very happy. The merchant always thanked his friends before sending them on their way. The merchant went back to his wife and kids, where he spent the rest of his life happily. Scheherazade said,
No matter how beautiful the stories I just told you are, they can't compare to the story of the fisherman.
This chapter 2 of the story end here. Chapter 3 of Scheherazade's story, the story of the fisherman, will be continue on the third chapter. If you like this kind of video, please like, subscribe and comment below. And if you don't want to miss the next chapter of the stories, be sure to turn on the notification button, so that you don't miss the newest video we posted. Last but not least, thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.